Welcome to Point Blank, everybody. We've got everybody in here, and this is the whole team. We got the first time ever we've had everybody on here. So welcome. We got Ed. Let's just start with the introductions. We got game catcher Heath Hyatt, hailing from. Are you at home, Heath?
I am. In the great state of Virginia, in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains.
Virginia's it's not really the heart. You've said before that you're like fringe.
Yeah. At least I'm not drinking peach beer. I mean,
look at him, he's got his pinky up. Bryce Matthews, Mr. Non-military time, peach drinking Bryce Matthews.
Bryce, I'll fight him with you. Let's do it, dude.
Man, I was born with broad shoulders for a reason. Y'all just keep it coming.
Yeah, I hear you.
If the number sounds real big, you just subtract 12, and then it's PM.
That's a lot of math, Ed. That's a lot of math, man. I'm a coon hunter. Come on.
We'll give you a break since you're a coon hunter.
Yeah. Yep. And you just heard from Ed Barnes, our newest show on the Houndsman XP Podcast Network, The Dogmen. Man, if you guys haven't checked out The Dogmen, that's a pretty cool podcast. And I know you guys are going to do a lot more cool stuff too. What you got in the works, Ed? Anything you want to reveal?
Next weekend we're going rabbit hunting with beagles.
There we go. Ooh, that's a good time.
Yes.
I haven't done that in quite a few years. I used to do it. That's actually how I got started dog hunting, and then I moved to hog hunting. But my mentor ran beagles for years, and every once in a while we'd slip out and run some beagles. But I ain't done it in probably 5 or 6 years, so I'm kind of pretty excited about it.
That's always one of my favorite hunts of the year is to head north with Alan Gingrich, go up and chase some hares up in the UP. Man, you just turn dogs out and they just rock. They run like those hares run like deer.
And the area we're going, we might get on some swamp rabbits if we're lucky.
Seth's head up.
Well, these are snowshoes. They're not those little weak jackrabbits out there.
I've never wanted to strike an old man until now. Never.
Bring it. I'm too old to fight.
But he might shoot you.
Yep. And then we got the perpetual eating machine, Chad Reynolds, with it. Yeah. He's got
Halloween candy.
The day after Halloween, and Roxy fixes him a little care package for, what'd you call it?
It's more of like a cornucopia of candy, I would say. You know,
Candicopia.
It can't. Yeah. Now I'm dropping everything, I'm making a mess.
Yeah.
But I should be satisfied for the rest of the podcast. All my snacks here.
I think earlier you said pawcast, PAW cast.
Yeah, that's what she calls it, a podcast. And I was like, that's kind of clever.
There might be something to that.
Yeah.
For sure. And we got the bearded one, flintlock shooter, hairbrain, Seth Hall in the
What's
house.
up, everybody? What's up?
What you got going on there?
Well,
What are you sipping? What are you sipping?
I'm sipping Gosling's ginger beer.
I knew it. I knew it was going to be a Gosling's ginger beer.
They're so
and
good.
you got your Jerusalem cruisers on too, don't you?
Nah, I'm running barefoot now, brother. The sticker season is over, so it's barefoot.
We are going to cover the Jesus Cruisers, man. That was just over the top. That was over the top.
The only time I saw Ed startled is when I was wearing my sandals.
Standing naked by the truck didn't startle him at all.
No, that turned him on.
No, but bear hunting in sandals, that was a first.
Well, this is a point blank, so let's just get into it. It's we just got back from a good trip to the Gila, and Ed and Seth and I did anyway, and that was an awesome trip. Had a great time. Actually caught and saw some bears. You can find some articles we wrote some articles that are going to be in the upcoming issue of Full Cry magazine, so you can get more details there. So we don't want to foreshadow that too much, but
Actually, Chris, I don't think that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be in the Full Cry until January.
yeah, December, January issue, right?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that, but she
Yeah.
said they were kind of booked up, so it's going to take a little bit to get in there, but it will be in there here pretty quick.
I got you. Yeah, so we are just so everybody knows, Houndsman XP, if and this is a plug, this is another benefit for joining us on Patreon. If you join us on Patreon, you get a free subscription to Full Cry magazine. And Jason and Danny Doobie have done an outstanding job of bringing that magazine back. It's got an old look with a new feel. You know, I don't know how would you describe it, Ed? Have you looked at it?
I haven't seen the new one, but I mean,
Cover's old timey looking.
Oh yeah, and that's super cool. Like, it got me thinking about doing a kind of retro look for Tuskers, but I didn't want to jump on that bandwagon. But it's super cool. Like, I think Full Cry's got to be the longest running dog magazine of all time. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it goes back to the 40s.
1939, I think.
39. That's
Wow.
incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's morphed through the years and kind of changed its focus. But, you know, of course, it's always been on the dogs. It's kind of switched between what dogs it might be focused on. But yeah, super long run on Full Cry magazine.
You know, when I was a kid, I just couldn't wait to get my Full Cry magazines. I even got a bunch of back issues and stuff from my uncle and wore those pages out. And, you know, instead of mom finding a Playboy under the mattress, she would come in and see the light on under the door and open the door. And it's like, what you doing in here? And I was looking at a Full Cry magazine.
Yeah, I saw they I guess when they bought the magazine, because for anybody who doesn't know, here a few months ago, it was about to go under, and they picked it back up, and somebody knew, and they're running with it. But I guess they got the full back catalog and everything, and they gave away. They still had some of the very first edition of that magazine, and they did a contest and gave some away. That's super cool.
Yep.
I will say, when I got mine in the mail, like, I thought it was really neat, the art on the cover. Like, it felt very old school, like, before my time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think they would be crazy if they didn't capitalize on that, like, heritage that Full Cry has, you know, and they totally did. I need to re-up my subscription. I used to subscribe for years. I used to write for them for a while, and then just kind of got busy and let that lapse. But I like to write for them because they'd kind of gone to their focus had kind of switched to squirrel dogs.
Yeah, there for a while it was, well, Terry was selling the covers and different things to OMCBA and a lot of squirrel dog organizations and things like that. So when I first started, I mean, you had people like Del Morgan, or not Del Morgan, he's the NKC guy. Yeah, well, Del actually wrote an article in there, but Del Cameron, Dale Lee was writing for him. There's a guy by the name of Richard Bear, John Wick. You know, it was a lot of old time guys.
And I'm from Oklahoma, so I got to throw out Ed Abel.
Yeah, Ed Abel was writing what do you call that? The legal?
Yeah,
he
was a
hound or something.
Yeah, he was a lawyer. He focused mostly on the legal aspect of it, but he was also a top-notch black and hound breeder.
Black and tan guy, yeah for sure.
And
And then who's the blue tick guy down towards the Washita? They wrote the articles. What was his name? The blue
I know
tick
him.
Guy Ormiston.
Yeah.
Yep. Guy Ormiston. You talk about a guy that could write about history and genetics, and that guy always drew me in.
what always drew me into Full Cry was that they had, I mean, magazines are kind of old school, and I run a magazine, so I understand this, but Full Cry had the cream of the crop of the old school guys who were still magazine oriented. You know, they had them writing, you know, monthly articles more than anybody else. And that's what always drew me into it. I love old guys.
Yeah.
Well, you are one.
See, Seth. See, Seth. Heath, what do you remember Guy Ormiston?
Yeah, I remember. I mean, my granddad used to get Full Cry, American Cooner, and there was the Fox and the Horn or something like Fox and the Hound or Fox Horn,
Hunter's
something
Horn.
like that. Hunter's Horn, yeah.
Hunter's Horn. Yeah.
So
Terry released all those.
So
yeah.
This is my great grandfather. He used to get those books, and we lived right beside him. They kept us a bunch when we were kids. And I used to go through, like, he had a stack of them laying on a coffee table. Like, I mean, a stack. And I would go through them and read them. And of course, when I got into the Hounds in the early 90s, Full Cry was the one that I subscribed to.
Yeah. And then Guy Ormiston also went on to write for Bloodlines. And that's where he wrote the article Echoes Across the Washita. Is that how you say that, Ed? You're from Oklahoma.
Washita.
Washita. Okay. See, so I've been mispronouncing it for years because I'm not from there.
I was gonna let him keep saying Wachita or whatever it was.
Yeah. I forgot to mention, Chris, but when you were at Earl's and we did our podcast.
Yeah.
And I think in the intro you were talking about Zydeco music and you said Zydeco. I got
see, hey, I'm not. Yeah,
I got a bunch of people come to me like, "What's he talking?" I was like, "He meant Zydeco. He said Zydeco, but he meant Zydeco."
Yeah. Well, some of those old time guys were saying Zydeco in their music. Some of those old black guys.
Yeah, they may have.
Yeah, some of the traditional Zydeco artists. So that's where I picked it up. But yeah, I probably was It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Put the emphasis on the wrong syllable there.
Let's recap that. Let's recap that bear hunt real quick. The thing that, and Seth, you set all that up. You put us in the right place, and great campsite, man.
Yeah,
I love that campsite.
I definitely want to give a big shout out. I had some help getting all that together. So although I did grow up in those woods, I definitely am not a bear hunter. So I had some help getting that site together. So I want to give a huge shout out to BB Ranch Hounds, Ross Blackwelder. Those guys are awesome. And they essentially were just like, go there. And I was like, oh, I know those woods. Awesome. But it was good to just have a second opinion, just be like, hey, you should go there. So you guys, I mean, it's public land, but they're guides. So it was really, really awesome of BB Ranch to give us that hookup for just some ideas. And it was a great time. So I personally want to give a massive shout out to Mr. Blackwelder, Mr. Hibbets, just to give me some good ideas there.
Yeah, me as well. And it may work out for him because I had a bunch of people message me, hey, I want to go hunt that. And I got his contact information from Seth and put him in contact with a few people, more than a few people. So hopefully he'll get some work out of that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That was super cool of him to like throw us one of his spots. Like I wouldn't do that. If somebody called me, I wouldn't do
that.
Well, I'm with you, Ed.
Yeah.
That's the most valuable thing I got on this planet. You know,
what about your smile, Chad?
When you find it, let me know. You know, but like, I'd be all right with somebody walking in. Yo, you want to borrow my TV? Yeah, whatever. The trailer? Yeah, whatever. Hey, let me. I need a hunting spot. Like I am losing you. Phone's breaking up. I'm done, man. I'm gonna get out of that. You guys got on them pretty quick too, didn't you? Like,
yeah. I mean, Chris brought some bear dogs, son.
Right.
You hear that, Heath? We'd got on more.
It was fuzzy. It didn't come in real good. I didn't hear him.
We ran bear and saw bear every day except for Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, the conditions kind of skunked us. But, I mean, right off the bat, Monday morning, opening morning, we had a bear up a tree by 10 a.m., 10:30.
Fantastic. That's
And
awesome.
we were on
dope.
We were on bear every day.
If you'd had walker dogs, you'd have had it done by 7.
I've got a special meme for you, buddy, about walker dogs. I'll send it to you later. Yeah.
I don't care what dog it is. If they put it up the tree, I'll be there.
I agree.
Tough was there.
That's right.
Tough was there on Thursday. That's for sure.
Yeah. Why don't you describe the Gila, Seth? Describe the Gila. That's right up your alley, man. You are the guy.
Yeah, so the Gila is like a mid elevation for like the Western Rocky Mountain standards, but I mean for the East Coast folks, it's pretty high elevation. We were at about 8,000 feet. This is a open understory with like a rolling ponderosa woodland, so it's a mixture of different species of pines, but the dominant like kind of flagship species there's the ponderosa pine, and it's like a very large, straight, heavy barked pine. The walking is a dream through that country. It's wide open on the understory. There's a lot of rocks in there, a lot of up and down, crazy canyon country, with watered bottoms, which sounds kind of funny, but that's rare for us. So to have streams flowing in a lot of these canyon bottoms is why the bears were there. And it's not super common. The Gila is a pretty well watered forest, but
how
it's
big
not as
is
wet.
that place?
It's 4.2 million acres of unbroken public land. So where we were hunting, the nearest like private land was 38 miles away, but in some stretches it was almost 55 to any kind of private land.
That's awesome.
So yeah. And those woods are awesome. There's a lot of Native American history there. And
there aren't any bears there, so don't come to the Gila. Just so you know.
Hey,
We struggled every day.
And there's a lot of Ben Lilly history there.
Yeah, that's what I was
yeah.
going to say. There's a huge amount of hound hunting history in those woods, a bunch of hunting history in general. Ben Lilly took Teddy Roosevelt hunting in those areas. So
when Chris first called me and said we were going to do this bear camp, he said it was in the Gila, and immediately I was like, oh wow. And then I got off the phone with him, and then I was like, man, I think Ben Lilly's buried like right by there. And I like started Googling it, and immediately I was like, oh, we're going to hit his grave, which we did find his grave. Super cool. We didn't go to the monument. The monument really doesn't have much. I think the grave had more historical importance in the monument, but I was, treeing bears was cool, shooting bears was cool, but seeing Ben Lilly's grave, I think.
Yeah, we loaded up and drove all the way over there to find that grave. It was hot too.
It was hot.
And we parked in the shade because the dogs were in the box, and we walked around that. How jacked up was that layout on that cemetery, Ed?
Hey, the map for that cemetery is all kinds of screwed up. If anybody goes there to find Lily's grave, I don't know how we missed it, but there are big signs that point towards it. We missed those. And we didn't get around to it, Chris, but we're going to be there next year. But next year we're bringing like some large parchment paper, and we're going to do like a charcoal, lay the paper on Lily's gravestone and do like a charcoal, I don't know what you call that, like a
tracing or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, like not really trace it, but just like, you rub the charcoal over it and it'll, we forgot to do that. I remembered on my way home, but next year we're going to be there next year. So next year we'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that and frame it.
That'd be so
Me
awesome.
too. Me too. That's something to hang up for sure.
One thing I do want to say is before everyone's like, oh, I'm going to jump in my hound trucks and drive to the Gila, I'm going to say this right now. If you're going to hunt it, get your hiking boots on and lose 30 pounds, folks, because you're going to be walking a lot and you're bordering the wilderness. and that's about 2 million acres, and there's no vehicle traffic allowed. If your dogs go in there, you're walking the whole way, son.
Yeah.
And we walked a lot.
Jesus cruisers considered hiking boots?
I'm going to tell you right now, son, I value comfort.
I'm going to tell you right now that if you can walk in a pair of boots as well as Heath or Seth gets through the country in a Jesus Cruisers, you're doing good.
I just
He
never
showed
thought
up-
it was that big a deal until I met you guys.
You put that, do you really hunt in those all the time?
Yeah, always. Or barefoot. Always, dude. Always.
That's crazy. I mean,
Do they have like little flames down the side? Like you guys
I
need to
go-
paint me a picture. I need to know.
I got to go get a pair. They're sitting right out there is what I wanted to work today.
Go get a pair, and while you're going, we'll trash you while you're gone. But
Okay,
anyway,
yeah, well, and while I can't defend myself.
exactly. That's the whole point. So yeah, Seth
Actually-
shows up. Seth
Go ahead.
shows up on Tuesday evening. He was late.
Wednesday.
He was late, wasn't he?
I think it was Wednesday, wasn't it?
I showed up on Wednesday. Yeah, I had some work.
Oh, he was
or no,
really late then.
I had some
No,
family
you were at a-
commitments I needed to take care of. So I
Don't
was I
make
had to arrive.
excuses.
Seth, it
said-
was not family. You were at a pole dancing competition.
I was competing too.
Yeah. And we saw the pictures.
It
I
was all
haven't seen
false,
pictures.
folks.
So
I wasn't competing. The other part's true. I wasn't competing though. My God, I'm not gonna.
you
compete.
showed up. You hunted with us for 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days, and
Yeah,
I
so
will
you
say
showed up-
late
So you
falls.
showed up Tuesday evening. You
Yeah,
showed
it
up
was
very
Tuesday,
punctual.
showed up Tuesday evening.
It was Wednesday
And-
evening. Or no, it
It
was
was Tuesday. It
Yeah.
was Tuesday evening. Yeah, because I got off the plane, woke up, worked a day, and then had to drive there. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, I'll be there at 8:30, and I walked into camp at 8:29.
No kidding. It was a freaking amazing. So getting back to like the condition of the Gila, you talked about walking. You also need to be prepared for roads that suck.
Oh yeah, that's the Gila is legendary for its terrible tire destroying roads. So yeah, that's another thing I was gonna say. You better be ready to walk a lot, son, and you better have some vehicles that can handle horrible roads because you're gonna
but that's
destroy your vehicle.
That's what makes it good. I mean, if the
Yeah.
roads are pristine, everybody'd be there. And
Yeah, it's not good rigging country at all. You're gonna have to get out and really hunt some bears on foot, which I was pumped. So that's what I wanted to do, and it was cool. So
Yeah. Yeah. So Seth shows up in camp on Tuesday evening. We had a dry day. We didn't get much going on Tuesday. But anyway, he steps out of the truck and he's wearing these sandals. And I was expecting him to have a set of boots in the truck. Next morning he rolls out with sandals on too, and he's hiking all over the wilderness and through that brush with thorns and everything else, just like, come on guys, let's go. In typical Seth fashion. Jumping up on logs and just typical Seth
Oh yeah.
in sandals. And
I don't know. I like to be nimble. I like to be agile, and I like to have good airflow on those feet.
Seth, you ever watch that TV show Dual Survivor?
No, I haven't, but everyone says I'm like the weird barefoot hippie guy.
Cody, who's always barefoot. Yeah.
Seth
There's
would be
just-
totally comfortable on doing an episode of Naked and Afraid. He'd like dominate it.
I would be naked. All 5 of you would be afraid. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do a TV show that was called Clothed and Not Afraid.
Yeah. Completely robed and bold. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I will say this, all jokes aside, to all my hunters out there, my archers, my flintlock hunters, my traditional black powder hunters, if you want to get crazy close to game, you need to hunt barefoot. I'm telling you right now, wear your boots until you start your stalk, put a carabiner through the back clips of those dudes, clip them onto your belt. You will be blown away how soft and quiet your skin
Oh, yeah.
is. It is
Not-
crazy. Stocking socks suck compared to the skin. Your skin
When you
is
every
so
other
quiet.
step you're going, ow, oh, ow, oh,
Yeah, take the
dancing
time to
around
harden
and
up your
stuff,
feet.
you're not going to be quiet.
Yeah, that would be
harden
me.
up those
Ouching.
feet. If I
I
take
don't know how
my
my
boots
kids,
off though,
they
they
run
might.
through the driveway.
I was gonna say if I took my boots off though, they might be able to smell me in the next county though. Like, what do you do? What do you do about that?
Yeah, the sandals keep your feet very fresh too. That was another thing.
Oh,
The
yeah.
airflow, son, super fresh.
But how do you keep your feet from just getting disgusting? Like when I wear Crocs, at the end of the day, I take them off. I mean, my feet are black.
Okay, first of all, I have my limits. No Crocs, son.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
Don't start bashing them.
I've heard they're amazing, but they
They
don't
are.
slip. They don't hike and they don't hike good at all. And to everyone that
It's
wants
called
to
sport
know,
mode, Seth. It's called sport mode.
yeah, I'm wearing the Teva Tawachi too. That's what I'm wearing. Those sandals are the bomb. It's all I wear. My feet do get disgusting, Bryce, but I mean, have you seen how Ed eats? Disgusting was just part of the fun. Like it was all good.
And I, I might try that, Seth, because I'm kind of into the whole like grounding thing. Like I like to
Yeah.
sleep on the
Hell yeah.
sleep on the ground
Yeah.
because I think it
Absolutely.
makes me more in tune with like nature. That sounds like I'm sliding towards Seth, but kind of getting hippie-ish. But I think sleeping on the ground, like if you sleep on the ground, like the next day, I feel like more in tune with nature. So you might be onto something with the bare feet. Maybe
All right. I got a question then, because the hippies around me are real big into that. The butthole sunning. Have you heard of this?
I knew you were gonna say that.
What?
Have you heard of this?
Not familiar with that.
You were gonna say that.
All right, I've witnessed this sadly, walking through the woods looking for dusky grouse, and happened upon people with like straight up. They put their paint the picture in your head. They lay on their back and throw their feet up over top of their head, so they get full sun on their butthole, and that's supposed to do. Google it. I'm not even joking. I am not
Bryce
even
Matthews has never been more aroused than right
That-
now.
It's
I
a
am
thing.
in
And-
awe.
That makes no
and
sense.
I could see if folks were like, all right, I'm gonna hide this, I'm gonna be quiet about it, I'm gonna, like, no, they do it in groups. So like, you get like 10, 20 people, they get together, strip down, and
It's called naked yoga, Chad.
no, this
Yeah,
is straight
Chad, you
up
closed-minded
specific
bigot.
to putting sun on their butthole. It is like, it is that. They also do that. There's a group down, like, I live out in the middle of nowhere, so there's not much out there, but there's this glamping place where they have like tents and stuff, and they do naked yoga, and they also, after that, they have I think it's some kind of energy thing is what but there's various names for it, but it's 100% all it is they throw their legs over their head and lay there, and 10 to 15 minutes of direct sunlight on the old starfish,
that makes no sense. That's just straight up hippie shit. Like,
Do they-
Two foot
Do they
canola
put
from-
sunscreen on it?
Getting that old
No.
brown eye tan. You know what I'm saying?
that totally defeats the purpose.
Now we
I
know
meant
why
you
you
put,
hunt
like-
down that way so much.
What's
Oh my
that?
God.
I said, now we know why you hunt down that way so much.
Yeah.
He's searching for grouse.
Yeah.
It's like golf. If you throw pine cones, if you get a dead ringer, it's entertaining. It makes a whole nother meaning for cornhole,
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I
This
just
is
about ruined
terrible.
an entire podcast setup.
Huh?
I just about ruined an entire podcast setup and spit peach beer all over my mic and everything.
Chad, I knew you were gonna bring that up, man. As soon as he said grounding, I was like, Chad is gonna bring up UV rays on the anus, guaranteed. And there it was.
There it was.
It was a slippery slope, man. We had Jesus Cruiser sandals, the grounding to butt sunning. I'm gonna go.
Welcome to Point Blank.
Hey,
everybody.
we did have hippie sticks in camp, and we didn't allow
Oh.
we did not allow any surface shitting.
Oh, that's called and I was happy with that because normally, look, I poop outside daily, okay, and when I'm out in the middle of nowhere, that's fine. But when there was a group of us, I was really glad that Chris was in the ass club. That's the anti-surface shitting club. I was really glad that you were in that, Chris. I was really proud of you for that. So good call.
It's like
good call.
I just figure by the end of 4 or 5 days, and for adult men, especially eating Ed's chili, his mystery chili, we were going to need some protection against the biohazard. So it's like, take your freaking shovel and bury it.
that's just common sense. Like, we didn't have indoor plumbing or electricity at my house for 10 or 12 years. So you think about like
What?
you think about a whole family going to the bathroom outside, you have to shovel.
This
Yeah.
guy's
So
saying that I'm
you
hard
grew
for
up
wearing
in this
sandals.
lifestyle.
This guy's saying I'm hard for wearing sandals, and he lived in a house with no electricity for 12 years.
Yeah.
What, dude?
I'm
That's
kind of
crazy.
hip. I'm kind of hippie, but here's the thing: like hippies just took over like hillbilly culture. So I don't consider myself a hippie. I'm like a hillbilly, but you know, they just took over hillbilly culture, and then they got all that. But if you really go back, they weren't the first.
The hippie hillbilly confluence. I want to know where that overlap is. I guess it's at Ed's house.
So you did not dig an outhouse or anything for 12 years?
No, we had an outhouse at some point. I don't remember exactly at what point it was, but really the outhouse stunk so bad that everybody just went to the woods anyway.
There's all kinds
Hey.
of dead soldiers around the Ed Barnes property then.
Yeah, but they're buried.
Yeah.
Dysentery row. Jesus.
Yeah,
you want
we did.
the most peaceful outhouse setup. It's on the Navajo Nation at Calvin Red House. It's an open door outhouse and it faces the west. It's beautiful. It was one of the most pleasurable outhouse experiences I've ever had.
Wow.
With Calvin?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah, I
see
went down there and
I
stayed with
didn't see
Calvin
it.
for a week.
I didn't see the
It's at-
outhouse.
Yeah, it's at his house. It's at his actual house. That's his bathroom.
Well, he actually lives in a Hogan, and then they've got a traditional, well, I can't say traditional. They've got a modern house that his mother-in-law lives in. And then, but he and his family stay in the Hogan. I guess I did not see the outhouse. Saw the barn,
Yeah,
saw everything
it's
else.
right across the driveway, like right by the horse pasture, kind of,
I'll be
where he keeps his
darned.
mules. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a great way to do your thing.
But it doesn't have a door on it.
No, absolutely zero door.
It's like, hey kids, how's it going?
Hogan's are awesome. Guys, Google it. Hogan. That's a cool house, man. It's like a desert hobbit hole. It's very awesome.
Yeah. Well, back to the Gila. We got to get back to the Gila and wrap that part of the podcast up because he's been producing cool stuff. Chad and Seth have been producing cool stuff, and Bryce has been cranking out. We want to recap a few things, but I mean, the Gila for me was like this great experience. All the things Ed said, about the historical aspects, the deep history of Ben Lilly and that kind of stuff, and the fact that I'm not going to lie, it was kind of cool that I just got to go out there, and I really was the only one with dogs that had seen bears and didn't have to worry about people packing or face packing and stuff like that. It was fun. It was just kind of relaxing, and but there was a lot of pressure too.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of pressure to be able to produce, because we went there to bear hunt. And
I mean, everybody had come from so far, including you, Chris. And,
yeah.
And
I was pretty spoiled.
I've taken people hunting before, and there's always that pressure. And I was telling Chris and Cody early that first morning, I was like, God, Chris has just got to be like, the pressure's just got to be like pouring down onto his shoulders. But then after we treated that first one, that all disappeared, and from that point on, it was good.
Yeah, we just had a lot of fun.
That had to be a huge amount of pressure.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you go there and you don't know, because you always hear about hauling dogs that far and in different environments and stuff like that. One of the great things that helped a bunch on that was the bear hunting I did up on the Escondido or the Quintela Ranch up in northern New Mexico. So they're used to bears and how bear scent works on that environment and that dry landscape and different things. So that was huge. They were coming off that pretty fresh, and then but there was still some pressure. It's like, cause I'm not gonna lie. I mean, when I go to Virginia, um, if you can follow Heath, if he'll slow down long enough for you to follow him, then you just dropping in on a lot of those races and different things like that. So you don't get an opportunity to test your individual dogs, your own pack type thing, because when you're hunting, I don't care where it is, east of the Mississippi, there's always a group and everybody works as a group, so you don't expect to. But when you get to take your own dogs with no help and see if you can do this, it was just pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that's always I mean, no matter what you're doing. I mean, that's always the test, is like, you can hunt with other people and your dogs pack in, or, you're hunting with somebody who's got really good dogs and your dogs aren't quite up to that mark, but so they're always kind of like number two. And whenever you get that chance to hunt just your dogs, and that's when you really see what your dogs are made out of.
Yeah. Yeah. Heath, I mean, you're sitting there quiet with your, not saying much, but I mean, like his Kate and Spook, and I'm sure he's got even Houdini, who chewed up all my leashes last year, has probably come a long way.
That's usually the best dog, the dog that chews up the most leashes.
Yeah, you gotta have a log chain to tie that sucker up. But Heath, how do you hunting in a group? You just did a bunch of podcasts about group hunting, 2 podcasts. How do you actually test your individual dogs, and how do you truly evaluate when you've got, a bunch of other people that are wanting to drop dogs in on a race or pack them up or whatever? How do you do that?
Well, I mean, I think what getting by yourself, and I slip off a lot and try to get away from the group when there's a lot of us. But yeah, I mean, with my schedule, there's a lot of days that I can hunt by myself, or it's just me and Sam, or me and Wesley, and they'll go to one side of the mountain, I go to the other, and whoever gets one up and running, we go help each other. So I mean, I get a lot of those opportunities, but talking about going to a different location, when I go down to the coast or North Carolina and hunt, you wouldn't think that I have the same dogs, different environment. I was down there. I just took the young dogs. Well, I did take Kate last time because I hadn't had her out where she had those pups, but it was hot, dry, and my young dogs didn't look that good. Of course, they run bear. That's not the issue, but Wayne and BB and them, they're running in that environment. They're running more consistent than I can. And my dogs didn't look, I was not happy with how they looked. And again, I didn't have anything over 2.5 except Kate, but I didn't even turn her loose the last day. But you got to get by yourself. You got to do exactly what you just did. Get off and turn your dogs loose and let them start to finish, because you're right. Packing in halfway through a race, 3/4 through a race, or a quarter through a race, you really don't know. So I take every opportunity I can to get separated. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's not that I want to be away from everybody, but at the same time, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's some etiquette there too, on that side of it, because if people see you trying to continually, they're like, oh, what's Heath trying to do? Is he too good to hunt with us? He always wants it to be about his dogs. So how do you navigate that? Because a lot of our listeners, a lot of the bear hunters that we talk to are in the eastern United States. It's not hard to get by yourself in the West because there isn't anybody else out there.
Well, it's funny you say that. I talked to Casey Heilman from Idaho, and he was over here working, and I spent some time with him, went out to eat with him, and he said he was amazed that we hunted in groups. He hunts by himself.
Yeah.
So that's something different than East and West. I mean, the guys out West are a lot different than we are. So how do you approach that etiquette wise? There are days that I keep my dogs in the box and I go help everybody else. And I tell myself on the way to the woods that day, hey, I'm gonna help whoever needs it today instead of me doing it. And I think I balanced that pretty good. So I don't think they get mad at me for it. If they did, they haven't said anything. But like I said, I make a purpose to try to help them as much as they help me. So it's a fine balance.
Well, Heath, I think you did that podcast. Well, I can't remember the exact name of it. It was like how to not get kicked out of a hunting group.
Yeah.
What was it? Well, we did a podcast last weekend with Cody Fox, and I don't know that we got it in on the podcast, but when me and her were talking, I was telling her, has anybody here ever like had a breakup in a hunting group? Like, I was telling her about how we had this breakup where I had to tell this guy, like, look, man, it's nothing personal. What it was is we had too many guys in our group.
Yes.
We had too many dogs, and the dogs weren't getting a fair shake because we just couldn't turn all the dogs loose all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling Cody, I was like, I totally had to have it was like breaking up with a girlfriend. I had to take the dude to the side, and it's nothing about you. It's nothing about your dogs.
We can still be friends.
But this is not working because we got too many dogs, and the dogs aren't getting a fair shake. So we're gonna have to call this quits.
Yeah,
you can still call me and stuff, and we can still be friends.
Yeah, we're still friends, and it's not you. It's me.
Not you. It's me. Yeah. Wait, I had a buddy.
You pick him?
Who,
was he just the last one into the group, or the guy with the crappiest dogs, or how do you pick a guy then?
He was the last one in the group, and he really, we have a pretty tight knit group, and it was kind of one of them deals where, like, he invited himself to go hunting with us. We thought it was a one-time deal. It kind of turned into an every time deal, and then it had to be broken off.
So basically, what would have happened though if he would have had really good dogs and really good places to hunt?
I think it honestly, I think it still would have went the same way.
Okay.
I mean, we have plenty of places, and we got decent dogs. It really wasn't about that. It was just that literally, like, everybody shows up, with 3 to 4 dogs. We are strict. We're pretty damn strict about 3 dogs on the ground at a time. And it got to the point where, on a night hunt, there'd be a lot of dogs that just didn't get their shot. They didn't get turned loose,
Yeah.
And there was plenty of time, and we would switch it up. So, I mean, there was plenty of times when my dogs were the one in the box. I hold dogs to the hunt, but I didn't get to turn them loose. And I'm like, man, I got young dogs. They need to be on the ground every time we get a chance. So, yeah, sometimes you do have to break up with hunting buddies, and it's not you, it's me.
Well, that sounds real familiar. Go ahead. Who is going to talk about it?
I had a buddy who he was dating this girl, and they'd only been dating for a couple weeks. And he was like, hey, I gotta get up early the next morning and go hunting. Do you mind sleeping in the other room? Because you snore really bad and I need to get a good night's sleep. And this chick was like, you're going to choose me over running your dogs? And he was like, yeah.
Or the other way around.
And then she broke up with him like right there and left. And he was like, dodged a bullet.
Yeah,
I got a really good friend that will date all year. He works with us and everything, and he'll date a girl all year. And unless he every year I've known him, he goes single right before hunting season. He does it every year. He's like, he goes, if you ever see me keep one, he goes, I'm probably gonna marry her. But he'll date all the way from the end of the season through summer, everything, and then right around, September-ish time frame, he'll find he's like, man, I gotta come up with a reason, man. Help me out. What can I say? It's not you, it's me.
Bryce he finds women that want to go hunting with him and have kids that'll go hunting with him.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling you, we went last night, and I had my boy in the woods with me. I had Nikki in the truck. She had a blanket. a pillow, her phone on loud, and whenever we needed her, she actually answered this time and was a good truck man. Come around and got us. That doesn't always happen.
That's
I'd
valuable.
say 80% of the time she's asleep. She did let a landowner drive right past her one time and failed to let us know that they were coming. She was asleep. But last night she did a good job.
Who was
yeah,
it? The game warden? The game warden?
No, a landowner. It was a
Oh.
landowner. She was parked. We had the truck parked on the road, and the landowner drove right past her down the lane. She failed to let us know they were coming. Now we had permission, but still, if there's a vehicle, coming through the woods in the lane, you usually say something. And
Right.
no.
Yeah.
I got back to the truck and she was donked.
I know how she feels. The last time I went coon hunting, as soon as I got back in the truck, I fell asleep instantly. I felt bad.
You
But
slept
yeah.
all through the hog hunting deal too down in Texas.
I do.
So-
I'm not a night owl. I tell everyone
Yeah.
that. I got a lot of
Yeah.
energy during the day. My bedtime is 9:30. At 9:30, Seth Hall clicks off. I only have two modes. We're pumped or asleep.
It's like full throttle or sleeping for Seth. Ed, what do you
100%.
wanting to say, man? I
Well,
know where I know where you're going. I want to pile in on this conversation.
A couple things, but first, hog hunting is boring, Seth. Second, or not hog hunting, coon hunting. Second,
We're getting ready to tussle over a Zoom meeting.
second, and then the other thing was that, like, as a hog hunter, we don't have a season. Like, we hunt year round. So, Chad, it's kind of tough for me to keep a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. I just do away with them entirely.
Hey,
huh?
I'm gonna give a shout out to mine. She has no interest of going, so it gives us a good break to be apart. But she's totally supportive.
That's exactly where I'm at. Yep.
Man, I'm telling you, over the years, I cannot recall a single time where she's like, I don't want you to go hunting. And I mean, it's a perfect scenario. It's an opportunity for us to kind of get to the point where we realize that we actually value each other's company and like it. When I'm gone for 2 or 3 weeks, it's enough time where she starts missing me and she's glad to see me again, and I can start missing her and start doing that internal thing where I'm like, damn, I think I really do like her. I think I don't know. I think I can go back. And I've had friends that their wives are always with them and always doing stuff with them and stuff. And yeah, Chad, you're one. I see that all the time. I think that's magical. But for me, it's kind of like we kind of
don't want
need that
that.
time, and I like it. I personally like it. Chad,
I get it. I get
I've
it. Everyone's different.
I got a good story. Like, my great uncle Tom, just to give some preface, he was born in 1916, but Tom, he ran coyote dogs, and then he ran bear dogs, and then later in life coon dogs. But his wife was telling me once that he always had a passel of dogs, and she said that he got the inkling that he was gonna learn to play fiddle. And she said he would throw open the window right by his chair that he sat in the living room, and his dog kennels were back behind the house. She said he was no good at playing fiddle. She said he'd start sawing on that thing, screeching around, and all them dogs would get to howling. And she said, I put up with that for years. And then she said, finally, I told him, either you got to go or the dog got to go. So Tom said, well, I'll go. So he built a little cabin, and it's pretty cool because actually we hunt on the place where his cabin is. But he lived at that cabin for years and years by himself. They stayed married. And I was talking to Tom. Tom was I think he was 91 at the time. And he was telling me about it. And he said, Ed, best years of my life. he said, I ran dogs whenever I wanted. He said, Margie would come to my house after church on Sunday. He said she'd bring me a week's worth of food. She'd pick up my dirty laundry. She'd do her wifely duties and leave. And then Sunday night, she'd bring back clean clothes for the week. And he did that for pretty close to 15 years. And then when he got
How many years?
about 15,
15.
and then when he got kind of in bad health later in life, he moved back in with Margie. But that's
I'm like Chad though. Like me and Nikki are together all the time in the woods.
Yeah,
I mean, she
yeah.
goes with me more than she doesn't, and sometimes she gets a little aggravated if I go without her. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm going with the guys. Well, I want to go, but no, I mean, I love it. I love being in the woods with her because she is a good dog woman. Really, she can call the dog.
She
She
grew up
knows how
in
to
it.
read a Garmin. Exactly. She grew up in it. She grew up coon hunting.
Yeah.
Like she's my backup handler at every major event. And she's not just a spectator with a backup handler title.
Right.
If I get hurt legitimately or something happens, she can take over. She knows the rules, she knows the dogs, and she knows how to play the game. Like she's there 100%. So it doesn't
You know,
bother
that's
me.
awesome
Yeah.
when you guys are hunting together and you guys both love it. But like I'm with Chris, right? My wife doesn't, she loves the hounds, loves that I'm out hunting, but she's not going to be out there hunting with me and loving it. And she's like, I don't want to rain on your parade, you and Justin's parade. She's like, I'm just going to stay home and watch Netflix and cuddle with the ones you leave behind and you go have fun. And I'm like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Because then if she was there and she didn't like totally love it, like me and Justin are like baboons held in by seatbelts, you know what I mean, when the race is on. And so like, you know, we just feed on that insane energy of the intensity of the race. And so yeah, it works out great. I'm totally in Mr. Powell's camp there. I know how you
Don't
feel,
call me
Chris. I'm with you.
Mr. Powell.
I
Go
mean,
ahead, Chad. What you got, Chad?
It's different for everybody. I totally get it. Like
Yep.
how Seth and Ed are said it. I totally get it. But like I've said this plenty. My wife will come down here and say the exact same thing. Everything that lives here loves hunting. Everything. If we raise a puppy and it doesn't like hunting, we'll find it a couch. We'll find it somewhere to go. And the same goes for her. Everything loves hunting. If she decides she don't want to go hunting no more, we'll find her a real nice couch somewhere, you know, where she'll enjoy her life there a whole lot better, you know. But as it is, she does. But like back to what Seth was saying, she does love it though. She's got her own sight hound. She'll go run on her own. Back when we lived down south, she had her 2 or 3 of the pig dogs that we had that she'd go hunt on her own. And she had a Aleutian Staffshire Bull Terrier, believe it or not, was a pretty good catch dog, and and 2 terriers. And she had good control of them. If it was close enough, they were going to lock it down and just catch it, you know. So she didn't have to go that far. But she's gone to the woods and cut her own pig and brought it back, you know. So she's fun. But for example, right now I got 30 some dogs out back. Guess who's out there feeding water and cleaning kennels? It's not me. You know, so that's a big bonus of it. You know, like when they're involved as much, you know, sometimes you come home and your wife bought some scented candle or some bed ruffles or some stupid stuff. This one bought, I got the new Carmen collar, the new 25. You got one, you know, like that's the dumb shit she buys. You know, that's kind of cool. You know,
That
like
is
just
cool.
clean the kennels and buy tracking collars. You know, so
it's kind of the, you know, like I've noticed, I'm not that old, but I've noticed that like the younger generation tends to be more in that line.
Mhm.
That's not really my thing. I'm not against female hunters. Like this last podcast we did was with Cody Fox. She's a female hog hunter, and it's not that her boyfriend has hog dogs, her husband has hog. She has hog dogs. She doesn't have a man. Like she hog hunts by herself. That's totally cool. Like that's totally cool. Not my thing. Like to me, hunting is like the man's time. I mean,
that's more of a kind of a southern thing though, because I've got friends down through Appalachia where it's, you know, the women will fix the food and send it up. My wife is kind of like that too. She's very traditional and doesn't. For us, when I leave town to go hunting, that's her opportunities to do the things that she really likes to do.
Yeah.
Spend time with her daughters and her mom and do that sort of stuff. And it's not that we've devalued the role of women in our culture.
I don't know if we have or not.
Huh?
They can do both.
I don't know
No.
if we have or not. I mean, and that's kind of the tough.
Let me explain. We've tried to our culture has told women that they can do anything a man can do, and yet, man, I appreciate the fact that my wife thinks that her first and foremost duty is being a mom to her kids and a daughter to her mom and a wife to her husband and things like that. There's things that she does that I can never do, and I like that. But I don't have anything. I'm with you, Ed. Heath, you've done a podcast recently with a young lady that deer hunts. Chelsea hunts. Your daughter hunts with you. Some of Chelsea's, her daughter is always in the truck when she gets the opportunity. What's it like for you guys?
I'm kind of caught in the middle. I like it. I like to be off by, it's my time, but I really enjoy Maddie or the girls being with me. Chelsea will go some. We all make fun of her and pick and carry on. We tell her she don't need to be off the pavement because every time she steps off the pavement, she gets hurt. And I know she's probably gonna smack me in the back of the head here in a minute, but
She probably will.
Yeah, I mean, she'll go with me some, but I also have enough time by myself. And kind of back. This kind of goes back to the group. Like I have opportunity to, like, my schedule allows me to hunt a lot of times when other people can't, or hunt more. They can take a week off, and I'm off for the whole month of December. So I get plenty of opportunities to get it in by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So the couple, like Maddie can't go, but on weekends, and then when she's out of school, she'll go when she's out for Christmas break for those 2 weeks. I mean, she'll hunt with me every day that she can. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the middle. Like I like, that's my, I like to be out with the guys or out by myself. Right. And when they go with me, like I said, it's not overwhelming. So I'm kind of in the middle.
I had a hunting daughter, man. She was just absolutely, I mean, even when she was a little kid, my son, he could take her to leave the hound stuff. He hunted other stuff. He turkey hunted, he squirrel hunted, he deer hunted, he did, but I flat burned him out on the hounds thing. But Cora, man, if that truck was, she knew that when it got dark, I was leaving to go hunting. And I would tell her, she'd be like, I'm going to go hunting with you tonight. It's like, nah, you need to stick around the house because I needed a break, or she had school the next day. And I'd get busy or distracted, loading dogs or grabbing something. I'd come back and she'd be sitting in the passenger seat with this little smirk on her face. And I was like, I thought I told you weren't going. She goes, yeah, I know, but I need to go tonight, and she had her own dog and she would bear hunt with me. And I miss that time with her that we shared. But at the same time, she got the value of it. She moved on, I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I'm not a misogynist, bigot, whatever, anti-woman hunter. That's not what I'm saying. But I enjoy my time alone too. And for me and my wife, it works out.
Yeah. I mean, I may not be the best example because I'm not married anymore. But
and there's done that twice.
but used to, I might come home at 5 o'clock in the morning with a truckload of guys and walk into the bedroom and go, hey, are you awake? Can you cook us breakfast?
Oh man!
The
I know what the reaction I'd get. It's like
audacity.
Yeah.
I mean, she would, but like I say, I'm not married no more.
Hey, that's
Well-
the difference in yours and mine is mine, and this is not just tooting her horn. She, out of the graciousness of her heart, she would have it made without asking. That woman, I would starve without her. Since her and I got together, I mean, I haven't missed a meal. She is a cook and a half, and she loves to cook to feed an army.
Okay. Well, Bryce, you might be aware.
Yeah.
Because mine was like that too.
We I just think it's an individual thing. I think everybody's relationship on that aspect is unique. And if you can make it work, then make it work. And as I get older and my value systems have changed. So I know when it's time to come home. I know when I'm
Yeah.
pushing the envelope too far.
I mean,
we're working on 30 years.
Yeah,
of
I'm like you,
marriage.
Chris. I was married for 25, and I'm like you, Chris. Like I could walk in the house and be like, I'm going to Texas and be gone for 10 days. That was totally fine. And she never told me I couldn't go because she knew that wouldn't work. But there were times when I got invited somewhere and I said, man, I've been gone a lot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even bring it up. It's like, no, I need to be home. I need to make this ball game, that ball game. So, but it's kind of a generational thing. And like I say, the younger generation, they're intermixing a little bit more than me and your generation did, Chris. And then like my dad's generation, my dad is blown away. My dad's 77. He is blown away at the idea of like women hunting. So it's just a generational thing, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think you hit on something key there. I mean, it's like anything else. I don't care if you're playing golf or you're into race cars or whatever, or hounds or whatever. If you don't know where to put the brakes on it and it totally lets you consume you, then you can get it into some problems. But the main thing is whatever works in your relationship, go for it. That's for you to decide, not for us.
I have known so many guys that got divorced over hunting. So many guys.
He's just raising his hand.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're talking about, I interviewed Whitney Clements, and the reason that she loves it is because of her dad. Her dad was kind of like it's kind of like Maddie. Her dad, she spent all her time with her dad, and he spent all his times in the woods, and he run deer dogs, and like that's what started her passion for it. And like even the guy that she dates now, like that was a big thing for her. Is he needed to hunt. Like she needed to know that he was a hunter. So that was something maybe that I kind of thinking about what Ed said, looking back at my great grandfather. Of course, my granddad. Neither one of my granddads hunted, and then my dad. My dad would have never thought about taking my sisters.
Yeah.
So they would have never had that opportunity.
Yeah.
Where, and you talk about, your son versus like Maddie and Tyler. Like I think I done the same thing with Tyler. Man, I drug him through the woods at a very young age, rough walks, cold weather, and it pretty much broke him. And he'll deer hunt some, but he's more into the cattle. His granddad raises cattle, and that's what he loves to do.
Yeah.
Where Maddie, I never forced Maddie. She was interested. Hey, what are you doing? And she loves the dogs, and that's kind of what piqued her interest. And now, like I said, if she's able, she's in the truck with me, or or on the boat with me. So she's always with me, and I think maybe that's where we've changed as a generation too.
I
Well, I
think
mean,
so.
that's the thing. Like even Chris was alluding to. So I have 2 daughters, and every day before I would get ready to go hunt that night, I would ask my son, my 2 daughters, "Do you guys want to go?" lots of times my daughters went hog hunting with me, which my grandfather's generation, that question wouldn't even have been posed. And they went with me, they liked it. So that's kind of that like transition period where like, I'm not, I kind of, I'm old fashioned. So I view like hunting as like a guy's time, but also, I mean, in the same vein, I'm willing to take my daughters, and that's kind of that bridge between the old generation and the new generation. And I would totally expect that if my daughters got with a guy who hunted, that they would be right there with him. And I'm not opposed to that. It's just like, it's not my thing. I mean, I'll take my daughters, but to me, hunting is like a male thing. But if that makes any sense, it's kind of a,
Well, I think it's just a cultural thing too, and you take somebody like Chad who doesn't have a son. He's not going to, he's going to share his experiences with his daughter. I had a son and 2 daughters. My older daughter would hunt with me occasionally, but the value of it is she grew up with the whole life experience and the culture of it. So we still accomplish the mission here. When somebody says hunting is bad, then she can say, no, it's not. Even though my oldest daughter wasn't directly involved in it, she's not, she hasn't lost sight of, she grew up farming and baling hay and raising goats and doing all this other stuff. And that's good too. It all works out.
yeah. And I think Heath and Chris, you both alluded to it, but, and I was cognizant of this and always tried to keep it in practice. But like when you're talking about hunting with children, you got to keep the excitement and the action up. Like, don't take a 5-year-old deer hunting where you sit, in the woods for 6 hours, totally silent. They tend to get bored. So like when I would take my kids hunting, it was always try to do it like high excitement hunting, like hog hunting, squirrel hunting with dogs, where we were constantly doing something, and they enjoyed hunting because it was active.
I think the thing that epitomizes that whole thing was a photo that Chad posted a couple weeks ago on social media with his wife and his daughter. And what was Roxy wearing? Holding up that was freaking classic, dude.
It was a rainbow colored tutu and ballerina, rainbow colored ballerina tutu with camouflage boots. And she had duck blood all over up to her elbows. So
that was freaking awesome. I'm just like, you let her do her own thing. You capture all of the things that I'm telling you, man, boys and girls are different. I don't care what anybody says. And Roxy wants to wear a tutu. I'd be concerned if my son wanted to do that. But if my daughter wanted to do that, I'm all for it. And put the camouflage boots on her. That was a classic photo, and I thought it captured so much spirit of where we're at in this day and age in hunting.
Well, what's the funniest thing is I even kind of shy from putting it on social media sometimes, but like, you cripple a duck, the dog goes and gets it, the dog hands it to me or gives it to her. We're working on the dog retrieving to her a lot too. And it came back to life and start flapping. And we're like, what do I do with it? I'm like, kill it. You know how? She's slaughtered ducks that we, like raise here. We'll take out the good, slaughter them, take out the parts we want and feed the rest of the pigs. So she knows how to do it. So she killed the duck in her rainbow tutu. That's why it had blood all over it, like so it's hilarious watching her. She's only 5.5 years old too, like it's pretty funny, and then on like the double that, something I just posted, it was the day before yesterday. So I had 3 generations of Reynolds women out there duck hunting the other day, that was pretty cool. My mom's a damn good shot, believe it or not, too. She won't touch a gun for nothing. Like She likes guns, don't get me wrong, but she won't have a reason to pick one up because like just her health now, she isn't like zipping around as much as she used to, you know. But then she'll come up here and she'll take a shot at a prairie dog 100 yards out with a 22, you know, and I'm like, dang it, man. I can't let my friends see that, you know. They'll make fun of me forever that my mama can shoot better than me, you know? So yeah, it's fun. It's for everybody, you know. And to double down on kind of what Ed was saying earlier, you know, he was saying he thinks it's, you know, for him it's a man's time, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, I want to make sure that people don't take that the wrong way, because there's a lot of folks. There's certain types of hunting, like hound hunting. I like to be with buddies. I really like to be with buddies. But when I do falconry, I like to be alone. Everybody just gets in my way. It was the way I feel when I'm doing my falconry, when I'm hunting with my birds, and I like to do that on my own. My bird dog hunting, a lot of that's on my own too, you know. So nobody would think anything negative about me saying I'd just rather not hunt with anybody. So I don't see why it'd be wrong with, you know, someone saying, well, I just rather hunt with the buddies, you know. Like I don't think there's any, you know, so it's just everybody's different, you know.
Well, I mean, the whole thing boils down to I'm very old fashioned in this sense. There's certain things that when I'm with a buddy, it doesn't mean anything if I just walk over take 3 steps away and turn around and take a leak.
That's right. Well, I've done it across the hood, you know, just pee on the tire, be like, hey, grab that shotgun out of the back real quick, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
But if Heath's there with Chelsea or you know, if Nikki showed up, I'd feel obligated to walk off in the bushes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I should, but at the same time, it changes the dynamic is what it boils down to. Bryce, you've got something you've been boiling to say.
Oh no, I was just like, one thing that I liked that Chad did, you know, speaking of like his daughter was, and that I find myself trying to do is when you take the young kids, because I've got, you know, several younger kids, is trying to include them any way that they can at an age appropriate task. And there was the one video where they were out and she had the dummy launcher, I think it was, and acting like it was her gun. You know, like that was something that she felt included. Everybody was carrying a gun. She had a dummy launcher, and it was an age appropriate task. You know, it kept them included. And that's what I like to do with my boys. Like, you know, when they're going out with me, especially the youngest one, like if we're going to shoot a coon out in season, okay, great. You know, I'll kneel down
in season.
Yeah. Do you like that? I'll kneel down next to him, and it might take 15 shots to get it out there, but you know, it's 22 and it's teaching them something, you know, or let them have the Garmin and you know, peck around on the extra Garmin just to learn how to use it. You know, it's age appropriate tasks, but you know, like Ed says, they get bored with certain things. And so with hound hunting in general, I don't know very many hound hunting sports where it's sit still, be quiet, don't move.
Exactly.
You know, the kids can be involved and they can have a task. It makes them feel included. It makes them feel part of the team, really, because that's what it is. I feel like. So I did like that video with the dummy launcher. That made my day.
I've told tons of deer hunters the same thing, you know, when I'm on deer hunting podcasts or whatever. It's like, man, this is the perfect gateway sport to get kids engaged in hunting. If they get bored, they can go over in the creek and catch crawdads, or they can, you know, look for frogs or all kinds of stuff. It's not sit down, be quiet, don't mess this up. I'm trying to get you in front of the, you know, big rastest mossy horn buck, and if you move, you're going to screw it up. That's very rarely the case when you're hound hunting and you have so many opportunities to get your kids plugged in to being outside, and it's perfect gateway.
That's still my favorite thing about hound hunting. I guess I'm a giant child, right? Like, you don't have to be quiet. We don't have to do anything. We're just wearing like normal clothes. We're just chatting, hanging out, walking around.
Yeah. So why do you wear sandals? You don't have to stock up on anything.
He just said he's like a child. He can't tie his shoes.
That's because I'm mentally challenged, not because I'm a child. Velcro is important for me.
Yeah, guys,
it's great.
We could keep going on and on. I think we need to do this again and talk about, maybe take some deep dives into, you know, the values of the family values of getting your family involved and the etiquettes and things like that. I appreciate all of you coming in. Are there any closing thoughts? Heath, you're like stretching out. It's like 9:15 Eastern time. You're about ready to pass out and go to sleep.
I'm with Seth. When it hits about 9:30, this old boy's in bed. Yeah, I used to make fun of my dad. I used to say when the chickens went to roost, he went to bed, and I'm almost right behind him. No, I'm just going to go back on a group hunt real quick. Just to clarify, I have literally been kicked out of 2 groups myself. The first group I got kicked out of because I was hunting with some older guys at the time. I had my first dog, which was Frosty, and when they weren't hunting, I was going anyway, and I was catching bear where they weren't, and they literally done the same thing Ed was talking about. They stopped me down at the store and said, "Hey, man, just got to tell you that, we don't want you hunting with us no more." I'm like, "What? Why?" And they're like, "Well, you're kind of going up on the mountain, and we don't want you up there no more." Now, this is national forest, and so I honored their wishes and I left. And then the other group that I hunted with, I was young, just starting. My dogs were doing okay, and all these guys were killing bear, and I refused to drag them out. I didn't even know who these guys were. These guys were coming in. They'd come into the tree. They'd hunt one day. They'd shoot a bear, and I just told them, I said, "I'm not dragging a bear. I feed my dogs. I haul them all over the country. I pay the vet bills. I'm paying for all this. I'm not dragging them." And they said, "If you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do." And I said, "Well, I guess I'm not in Rome." I never went back. So I literally been kicked out of groups. So there you go.
You're qualified to make that podcast. Bryce,
That's right.
You got any closing thoughts?
No, I'm good. I've enjoyed this. I do have a couple thoughts on the group hunting thing though. Maybe we'll use it for another podcast, but I'll just plant the seed now. Maybe put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's new to an area. You've moved, you've relocated, and you're trying to find a group. It's hard. It's tough. And I'm in that situation right now. I'm new to northern Indiana and trying to find people who are welcome to go hunting with and will, show you their spots and let you be a part of that group. I mean, that is hard. So it's just that's a whole other topic.
Yep.
Because Chris said or one of you guys, I think Ed said it maybe. He had a guy that, they thought it was a one-time thing, but he ended up showing up every day. Well, maybe he doesn't know anybody, So
Right. Right.
That food for thought.
I think we save that one for a future. That's good seed to plant right there, Bryce. Ed, Ben Lilly, Barnes. You got anything?
Well, the only thing I can think of is people listening can't see it, but on the Zoom meeting here, my name is Lily Barnes. I guess it just came up as that. I'm guessing that she's been in Zoom before I have, but
it did.
Lily,
that wasn't
Lily,
by chance.
Lily is my oldest daughter, and it's spelled different, but she is named after Ben Lilly, and I want to
kidding.
And I want to thank Chris for taking us to the Gila and letting me connect those dots.
Yeah. Yep. Seth, you were a big player in that one, buddy. Getting us on there. You got any final thoughts?
Well, I had a great time and it was a lot more fun because you guys were there. So appreciate that. Thanks for inviting me. I want to do it again as soon as possible. And that's all I had to add. I really was just I had a lot of hype going into that. I knew it was gonna be good. I'm glad we put up some bears. It was really cool to tree some bears in my backyard, and I'm really glad Chris brought some good bear dogs.
Chad, you got anything to add?
No, man. I just saying congrats on all the good work. I've been there before. I think most of us have, where you travel and go somewhere and, oh my gosh, are they going to be good? Are they this or that? Did they get into some funky water? Are they going to have the squirts before the day? So like, man, I know, I think all of us know that feeling. Like once you got under the first tree, like, man, it's all downhill from here. So I didn't get to make it, but it sounds like you guys had a blast. I liked all the pictures y'all took, that's for sure. And, treeing first day, that doesn't get much better than that, man. So it sounds like y'all had a great time.
Yeah, they were studs. So except for the sound the cubs, both those bears we took were mature boar bear. And I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of pressure, that first day that they go streaming up that screaming up that draw. I really thought that they had struck a lion track. I was expecting to see a lion when we walked up in there, the way that bear ran. He didn't run that far, and went up pretty quick. So I mean, it wasn't like some kind of epic track job. Literally, a poodle should have been able to tree that bear that we caught the first day, and it was just a great feeling. But Ed's right. There was some pressure involved there when you drive that far and you got people driving from all different corners of the map to come, and they're expecting you to put bear up. So yeah, it was good. It was good.
Me and Tanner have been talking, and next year we're bringing a dog.
Good.
A bear dog.
We'll have to figure out, with 4 million acres, we can surely find some places to drop more than just one pack of dogs.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's our goal, is next year me and Tanner are going to bring a dog that can actually run a bear.
Yep. That's
we
cool.
got a fair amount of bear here in Oklahoma. We can't run them legally with dogs, but I think we can train one.
Yeah.
Depending on where they go, like out by me with the cedars and the junipers and stuff, a good hog dog that knows what a bay is gonna see them pretty quick. Now, if they're way up in the ponderosas, that's hard, but
Yeah.
heck, I tree bear that I could reach up and poke with my finger, and there's 4 or 5 hound dogs there all barking, your good hog dog will see that, and they stink, man. So that odor is going to be falling down. I bet you it goes well.
I'll tell you what, man, it was a big difference. 2 of the bears we treed were up in some pretty big ponderosa.
Yeah, those are hard.
The intensity of the treeing wasn't the same as that last bear we caught, the sow with the cubs. I'm sure that she was, trying to put that cub up a tree and making sure that the dogs weren't too close to it. So she was a little more game for the dogs, and they treat a lot different on that bear than they did the two boars. So, but guys,
low trees, or were they all up in ponderosas?
They were all in ponderosa, but I think the sow spent a little more time on the ground, bluff charging and doing some different stuff with the hounds that got them a little more fired up.
That's cool.
Because even Tough was treeing on that sow and cubs, and when we got there, she was pretty high up in the tree. So that tells me that she put on a little bit of show and got him fired up a little bit. But guys, I'm gonna cut this one off. I appreciate all of you tuning in to this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast, the Point Blank. I love getting the team together. We have a lot of fun when we do these. I hope you had fun too. Make sure you're watching for some big things coming. We have I'll just announce it on this podcast. We are doing a promo for the Colorado Initiative 91, where they're trying to outlaw mountain lion bobcat hunting in the state of Colorado. It's going to be huge if that thing gets passed. It's going to change a lot of people's lifestyles. It's going to be devastating for wildlife management in the state of Colorado, and it has the opportunity to redefine what hunting truly is. And the way it's written is really an attack on hunting. It's not. Lion hunters are just going to be, and houndsmen are going to be the casualties of this war that's going on. And the way we're doing that, one way we're doing that right now is Ed and I have worked on a design for a t-shirt. It's Join or Die. It's a segmented snake designed by Benjamin Franklin in the 1700s to unite this country, to fight the tyranny of the British at the time. And we revived that for a t-shirt that sends a message out there that as houndsmen, we've got to be united. We've got to join. We've got to figure out how we're going to stand up to this. And we've got to come together as coon hunters, hog hunters, deer hunters, hare hunters. I don't care what you're hunting. If you're hunting with a dog, you need to be united on this front. And that t-shirt and sweatshirt hoodie is going to be available on our website at houndsmenxp.com. We're doing pre-orders until Thanksgiving to ensure that we can get everything delivered by December. We'll run the item continually after that, but on this initial push, you've got until Thanksgiving Day to ensure that you can get that for the houndsman in your life and make a statement. And those proceeds are going to go directly to fight this. I've been in several meetings so far. It's well orchestrated. I feel confident that this is something that we can win, not only for us as houndsmen, but for science-based wildlife management in this country. And that's really what this boils down to, is people are trying to abolish our freedoms and our rights to hunt and saying that it's an emotional issue rather than a science-based wildlife issue. We have got the most awesome track record with the North American model for wildlife conservation. It's a proven model. There would be no wildlife on the landscape without it. And yet there are people who are trying to redefine what wildlife management should be in this country. And we've got to stand up and drive our stake in the ground and say, not another inch. And that's what we're doing here at Houndsman XP. So look for that promo coming up on all our social media, all that stuff, for this join or die design that we've come up with for you as houndsmen. Guys, that's all I got for this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast. Thanks for listening. This is Fair Chase.